Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bleeding Culture Podcast. My name's Eric. Today I'm going to catch up with Kevin Rice. I'm going to give him a call now. We've got some things we want to go through. We've been talking for a while, so I'm excited to actually finally get him on the show and have a chat. So, let's get on with things. Hello?
Hello.
Kevin, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you?
Awesome. Not too bad, man. Not too bad. I've got to let you know I'm like the worst guy with technology in the world. So my first thought was like, I'm royally gonna fuck this, but we're sorted by the looks of it.
Yeah. I've been having audio issues all night, man, honestly. I use like a collection of different audio cables, but they're all virtual. So you've got to like get them all set up. And I used to have them set up, but I lost all the settings. And so I just kind of somehow managed to hash it out to get it to work. But yeah, man. I've still got 3 broken ribs.
Oh.
So I can't really do much sitting. It's been hard, like sitting at the computer trying to get all this done and whatnot. But it's been good, man. Good. How have you been?
Yeah, man, I've been really good. I've been you caught me at a weird time actually, in the sense that like just life's been a wee bit topsy turvy at the minute, but like in a good way. Like I had a friend come over to see me for the weekend there. And it's someone I've been in contact with for 7 years online. And it wasn't a casual hop across the water. Like, they came from Mexico, you know?
Yeah.
It's a tattoo artist I've known for a long time, which I met on all of the dark places you can meet somebody on the internet. I met them in chat roulette years ago, you know? And chat roulette normally is only good for, like... 58-year-old chronic masturbators, but managed to meet some cool people as well, which is nice. But yeah, really sick weekend, chilled out. She got to see, the non-touristy side of Northern Ireland, because we don't actually have an awful lot to celebrate here. It's kind of a fucking weird country. Like our main things are Game of Thrones, The Troubles, which is a war that nobody won. A ship that sank, and an alcoholic footballer. Like that's our country. Oh, and some hexagonal rocks which people somehow find fascinating up at the Giant's Causeway. So yeah, it's hard to show people shit here because there isn't a lot from a tourist side of things. But if you're someone who's like just pretty quiet and chill, the scenery here is fucking amazing, man. You know, if you go to the right places. So yeah, long and short of it, a really good weekend. And yeah, been skating. Was at the skate park earlier tonight, I should say. Which is good because I had like a fall a couple of weeks ago where, do you ever get like you avoid the doctor and you read your symptoms on the internet and you freak the fuck out? I was absolutely convinced I'd torn my meniscus, but I've just put some strain on the ligaments, but nothing permanent because I had sort of the swelling went down very quickly in that there. So really good skate session today, and feeling my way back into it. You know, I'm trying to go to the skate park twice a week, which we finally fucking have a skate park again, man, which I'm so stoked on. Because like I don't know if you've ever skated in Northern Ireland, but like at the moment we have is it two? Yeah, we've two, no, three three up until recently we had two. With three outdoor concrete parks now, and we've two indoor parks. Now, bearing in mind that's the whole country, so we've got five parks, and about 6 months ago we only had three. So yeah, it's not an easy place to skate. There's an awful lot of places that are like if you're a total beginner and you want to like learn to like 180 like five stairs or some shit, there's lots to do. If you're Aragon, there's lots to do, but there's not a lot in the middle, so it's really hard to sort of make that jump when it comes to like things like handrails and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, yeah, all good. Yourself?
Well, apart from the broken ribs,
Yeah,
and not being able to like take part in like skate challenges and stuff that are going on online, it's frustrating.
yeah.
But honestly, I was expecting some more sunshine. I was expecting some more skating, and one fall has just thrown me completely. Like, my mind was rollerblading, and now just kind of sat around. I'm not even sat around. I'm hunched around like a little hunchback, just crawling around the house and having to get help to get out of the chair and stuff.
Wow.
But I've been playing some guitar, lots of guitar. That's been nice. And planning a few more podcasts and talking to more people and getting some advice. So I've been busy with that aspect of it. Oh my god, I'm breaking everything. But I just want to skate. I miss it now. It's only been 2 weeks since I fell.
Man, 2 weeks is enough. Like when you're juiced to skate, I find that like I just get so obsessed about shit. Like I have OCD anyway, but yeah, when it comes to skating, like you just get those days where like, and this is something that a lot of rollerbladers will be able to relate to. But even like if you're driving on like a motorway and they've got those like the motorway bypass thing which divides the sort of two sets of lanes, and you're trying to focus on the road, but your brain is also imagining like this endless amount of switch ups on the motorway barrier. And you're just thinking, yeah, I want to get strapped up again and get out, and get a feel for it. Like it is hard. What's it like for like where you are in terms of community? Like, have you a lot of people to meet, or do you have to skate by yourself, or what's it in?
I mean, I'm 20 minutes from Greater Manchester, like 20 minutes from Manchester city centre. So for me, travelling to a big session is quite easy. We've also got like Ramp 1 in Warrington, which is also 20 minutes near me, and then Ramp Works and Ramp City in Blackpool. So in terms of parks to go to, I mean, you know what it's like in England. I mean, when we first spoke, I think you had like one park or two parks for the entire of Northern Ireland. And
Yeah,
in comparison to the UK, where we have, well, I don't even know, in all fairness.
Some of your cities have like 5 parks per city, which I find fucking insane.
Yep.
The other thing, which is like we were talking earlier about parks and barriers to progression and that sort of thing. The 2 indoor parks we have at the minute are built and run by like BMX guys, and they don't really understand what works for rollerbladers. And our outdoor parks are obviously designed by like a collaboration between sort of skateboard, BMX, and scooter. So there's no coping boxes in the country right now, and I would fucking murder to kill just to fucking get on a coping box and learn some stuff, because you get to a point where you want to try certain top sides, and you don't want to learn them on angle iron or a ledge. You want to do them on some nice, safe, slightly cheater coping, which is a little more than 10 to 2 raised at the side. Just get a little easy topsoil, ease yourself back in, and then lean out. None of this splitting the shin business. But yeah, so that's I want to get the Ramp Works, which I've never actually skated Ramp Works. I really want to get to there sometime either later this year or next year. I also keep seeing that Corby place, man. That place looks fucking incredible. Adrenaline
Alley.
Yeah, and the other place, which I have skated a few times, it was sort of like became like an annual pilgrimage for a while, is Unit 23 in Dumbarton near Glasgow. And that's an incredible park, Whereas like our parks here, we've got one of them, the Ramp House, which the guys who run it, they've sort of seen that myself and my friend go twice a week, and we're their most regular customers, and we've kind of nagged them about a coping box, and we're sort of building one with the intention being that we can store it somewhere, drag it out, and if other people start using it and more road rares come, they'll maybe make it a permanent fixture. So fingers crossed, because coping boxes are pretty much my favorite thing to skate. And then the other place is it's really frustrating. The guy who runs it, he's not a bad dude, but he's just doesn't fucking listen. And he's got like check out those parks where the join at the base of a transition where it meets the floor, you've got like a concrete floor and a wooden ramp, and they have like a sheet of metal across.
Yep.
His are all, he never seems to finish them properly, so you'll end up with like a sheet of metal which has like all these bumps from where the screws haven't been put in properly, and you'll hit a quarter pipe sitting thinking, okay, I'm going at the right speed for whatever, and you'll lose like 25% of your speed as soon as you hit it, and it's like, no, can't do my trick now. Just lots of really like jarring kind of shit which puts you off, and it's all just like there's nothing apart from the coping on quarter pipes. There's just nothing grindable at all. Like there's no street components in that park. It's just spines and jump boxes and that sort of thing. Whereas the one sort of closer is it does have ledges, but they're all that sort of angle iron kind of stuff. So you kind of have to be a bit creative to make the most of it. But yeah, it's just to have somewhere at all is good, because for a long time, if we wanted to skate and it was wet, you're talking like an underpass and waxing a curb, and it was just really fucking depressing.
Yeah, well, this was actually one of the topics I wanted to touch on with you, but only because it's come up a couple of times. I was going to ask first though, like, we've only met through the podcast. Is there, whereabouts in Northern Ireland are you from? How long have you been rollerblading for?
Oh yeah, shit, yeah. Okay, so I am in a small town within a few miles of the capital, Belfast. In terms of rollerblading, I've been rollerblading, I guess I'd be what people call new school, although I hate when people talk old school and new school, to be honest. But 2000 and, I think Christmas 2001, I got skates. So like I'm not one of these guys who like rode Oxygens or any of that kind of thing. Yeah, I got like a pair of people will probably be familiar with these. They were inliner Voodoos. They were like a black and grey skate with orange wheels, and they were fucking terrible. But to my mind, they were great. And then there used to be a shop in another town, maybe 10 miles away, and it really, really randomly sold rugby equipment and cricket equipment, and then just had like an inline section, and that was all this shop sold, was stuff for those three things. Called Eurosport, and I got a pair of Razors Cults out of there, the cream ones, and it sort of started to snowball a bit from there, and there was quite a lot of us guys at one point. You could meet up at some sort of central ledges and gaps and stuff, almost like a street plaza at a place called the Waterfront in Belfast. And you would have got days where on a good day you'd have had like sort of 25, 30 people. Crowds are like back then, sort of that 2002 to sort of 2004 kind of period. Everyone wearing clothes which are like way too many XL, which some of us still do. I never really grew out of the triple XL phase, which is helpful for someone like me who wears crash shorts and knee pads and that sort of thing, because you can cover it all up, But yeah, so skating about on and off, apart from a couple of years where we sort of got more into parkour, pretty much 17 years, and it's an okay place to skate. It's somewhere that I would like to see more people of an advanced level skate, than the sort of level that I would be at, because there is a lot of potential here, but it's somewhere that never, like, we never showed up in Unity Mag, or there's never really been any DVDs from here. In terms of people who are sponsored, like, it was always the guys from the Republic of Ireland, because there's a really, really good scene there, or there was, certainly. Whereas Northern Ireland sort of kind of felt a bit splintered off, kind of like how I imagine the Welsh scene and the English scene maybe aren't all that cohesive, even though they're on the same landmass, if that makes sense. So like you're only talking you're 100 miles or so from people like Conor Manweiler running Celtic and Al Hui and that sort of thing. But like I've only skated with guys like that maybe like 5 times my whole life. Do you know what I mean? Um, so yeah, it's difficult to talk about our scene in many ways. Apart from that, it's quiet and it's very DIY, and I would love that there were a couple more people of a higher standard here. Just you always find you skate, you learn a lot more when you've got people at that sort of higher level, And we've never really had like a Chaz Sands or an Alex Burston or whatever in the town just to sort of make you go, oh shit, and really get you amped, Although there's a couple of guys who have thrown some pretty big things, but yeah, relative rarity, tend to find ourselves revisiting the same couple of ledges and almost revising our tricks, do you know what I mean? And it does start to get a bit stale. So community was a bit quiet for a couple of years, but it's making a little bit of a sort of miniature comeback now, which I think is you're seeing that everywhere in the UK. You're getting all these people who are like 30 and it's like, oh, I've not skated in 8 years and blah blah blah, and it's fucking next thing you know they're on eBay like me, which yeah, industry killer. And yeah, can't lie about it. I just got to a point where all the skates I wanted were all the skates that I couldn't afford when I was young. You can afford like £100-200 pair of skates a year at the time, and then you see, like these days you can get like a pair of Razors Murda 2s on eBay for 20 quid. It's kind of hard to say no, So I try to buy as many of those videos on demand as I can because I do feel a bit bad. Although I did do a big order with Loco recently. I picked up about like 5 pairs of frames or some shit. So it's kind of, yeah, felt a bit less guilty. But yeah, loads of people are getting back into it now, which is awesome. And it's just a gradual thing. And we've also we've started converting a lot of the roller derby girls, which is kind of sick. Because that seems to be, I think that's a real untapped thing with rollerblading. We're still, like, apart from the power blading thing, we're still really bad at like seeing outside the box of hurricane topsoils. Do you know what I mean? It's like we need more people just enjoying being on skates. Doesn't matter if it's quads or inlines or the Trimax things or just whatever. I think there needs to be more interlap, and I think that's slowly coming, and you're really seeing that in the industry with like the likes of the Aeon and the Sway. I don't know what happened to Sway. Like it seemed to stop selling, but the concept was kind of good. Those 72mm wheels and all that sort of thing. Seems to be a bit more diversification that way, which is good because if the scene was unified a wee bit more, it would help a lot. And I think the roller derby ones are kind of an untapped market rather than seeing them all just hang around with their skateboard friends. They're weird people to skate with though. Do you ever skate with roller derby people?
Not currently, but I've just found out there is a roller rink in Wigan, which is 20 minutes from me. I've messaged them and they seem pretty cheap, so I'm going to go down. They have disco nights and all sorts of things, and it looks pretty good. And I've got my power blade set up with my light up wheels. It sounds pretty good, man. Going to a few beers. They've got adult only night as well, so
nice. The light up wheels, I'm going to want to hear about because I really want to invest in those at some point. Because apparently like 19 or 20 pairs of skates isn't enough. But yeah, that's another thing I saw recently. I saw more Salomons in my size for sale, and I've got like 9 pairs, and I'm sitting thinking about purchasing, and I was like, why did I do this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what. I mean, it'll be one of those in terms of whether or not we actually post this chat online. But for anyone that might be listening, whether it be in the future or whatnot, like your Solomon collection is it's getting there, right? And they're all set up. Like it's not like you bought a pair of Solomons and put them away. Like you've finished all of these pairs of Solomons.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and I want to do more. I keep on seeing like some of the adaptations people do. Although I'm really curious about your guy, Andrew Kingery and his soul plates. I kind of want to try those before slashing up, beautiful Salomon to death, save the nubs and all.
Yeah.
Because
I'd much rather be able to like preserve the boot. I remember we were saying like the only reason I never put any additional sole plates onto my any boots because I never wanted to carve up the bottom in any way. I always kind of wanted to keep them as they were, and just put original Salomon parts back on.
100%.
But the aftermarket stuff looks pretty good. It does look pretty good, and if it preserves the boot, then it preserves the boot, doesn't it? Like, if you're still spending money in the economy of the rollerblading economy, you're still spending money. I'm in the mindset that just spending money on rollerblades is good for the economy. I was reading an article earlier, sat on the toilet, about I think it's like from 2011, something like that. Just talking about how there was a drastic drop in not rollerblade sales, but people using rollerblades during like a period. So you can see the decline. They've got all this data, and you can see the decline where they've lost about 8 million rollerbladers. And I was wondering whether or not it was due to, all the hate online, or whether or not it was just because people weren't interested in inline. But everyone I've put on rollerblades has had a wild time. It's I say buy all the Salomons, keep them in production. There was someone posted a picture the other day of possibly a hockey rink, I think, and all the skates that they had behind were all Salomon.
Yeah, it was all Salomon, and like I think there was like a pair of K2 and a pair of like Roches Grals or something, like, the ones that had the zip on them. I saw that picture as well. Like, I'm not off that UKBC forum much. If I'm at home, like, it's always opening another tab on the laptop while I'm working, because I'm self-employed, so I do get opportunities to glance at that stuff a lot, and yeah, it's really, really cool, some of the things you see. You mentioning, anyone getting on skates and loving it. We had a guy tonight. He's I think he's a boyfriend or whatever, one of these roller derby girls, and he's been a skateboarder through and through for God knows many years. And we got him on a pair of K2s that my mate's not really feeling at the minute. And after one evening, the guy's like, "Yeah, can I buy those?" So that's good. I think it's just all about one person at a time, and I think the less that people feel ostracized, if you will, the better. I'm really finding, actually, at the skate park now, there's a real buzz and curiosity from sort of an age group of anywhere between about 8 years old and 16 years old, the sort of local scooter kids, or using any apparatus at all, actually. They're really, really fascinated by rollerblading, because a lot of them have actually never seen it before, which I find a bit of a mindfuck. Like, I had a kid come up to me at an outdoor park here one time, and he pointed at my shoes, or my blades, I should say, and he said, "Dude, what are those?" And I was like, they're rollerblades. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, what the fuck? But because, like, myself and my friend, it's not that we're doing particularly amazing tricks, because we are not by any means at a high level, but obviously with the number of years that we've been doing it, there's a certain degree of comfort there, so we're not like doing arm flail and all that kind of thing. And the kids, are randomly coming up and saying, it's like, "Oh, it's really stylish, where do I buy a pair of those?" And of course you can't recommend a physical shop to them, because they're so few, which is a shame, because I remember, like, it's a lot of years ago now, but like one of the only pairs of skates that I ever got to try on was in a Route 1 I think it was in Edinburgh. Because I would have been in Edinburgh, because my sister moved out there a number of years ago, and I got to try on, like, I couldn't believe, getting to pull on skates, and I was trying on, I think, the Razor's Drapal ones, like the mostly black with like the grey sort of soft boot effect at the top, and the I think the Vinnie Minton 2s were just out, the sort of white ones with the silver grey kind of cuff, and just being able to try those on at all at the time was amazing, because yourself, like, there's so many times where you sort of guesstimate what your size is going to be. Like, I'm a size 11 in most things, but if I was getting a classic throne, it has to be a 12. If you're getting a Genesis, it could be bloody anything, because those things fit really weird on a narrow foot, because they're quite wide fitting. Which is another reason why I have so many Salomons. It's over the years, I just would, I would buy like a Razor skate and a Salomon skate stick the salmon liner in the razor skate, and then sell the salmon liner with the salmon boot, I should say, with the razor's liner in it. And I just repeated this process over and over and over again to the point where even my non-salmon skates, they all have salmon liners in them, and that took a long ass fucking time. But it was very much worth doing because, you know, like even now, like people tell me good things about the intuition liners and all that sort of thing, but you know, I've just never found any other liner where I didn't have sore feet after like 45 minutes. And I think the older that I get, the more that I'm appreciating things like clean bearings, wheels not being like angled from, you know, T-stops and falls, and you know, tight laces and the liners. Like that shit is way more important to me now than how many millimeters the fucking sole plate is, which they used to print in some of the mags, which it just seems insane. You know, I remember like it being a big deal. I think the K2 Nemesis came out, and they had like a 45 millimeter sole plate, which was enormous at the time. And you know, some of the, you know, older guys who had obviously been used to like the old Roches and stuff were just like, oh, that's cheating. You know, it's just such a silly concept because like you know, us rollerbladers, it goes for everyone in the urban sports community. I don't really like to use that phrase, but you get the gist. We're all very quick to point out things like Colin Kelso's weighted arm or how boned over someone is on the fish brain. At the end of the day, we're all a bunch of overgrown adults on kids' toys. Like, it is just a toy, you know, and we get really up our own ass about this shit, you know. And like I look back, people talk about the X Games and our participation in it, or you know, our lack thereof, and like it was just set up to promote, you know, a skate, and a skate is essentially a toy, you know. So I just think sometimes people on the internet really need to sort of look in the mirror a bit, you know what I mean?
Just enjoy it. Just actually do it. Just skate.
Yeah, man. You know, like you'll still get the occasional day, like I'm sure there's still people on like AMOL forums or BMAG or something talking about how tight Chris Farmer's trousers are, and it's like, who gives a fuck? Do you know what I mean? But yeah,
some do get a little bit hung up on things that just, you know, I mean, come on.
Yeah, if you absolutely must complain about anything to do with rollerblading and Chris Farmer, you know, it's the candles in the bath, not the jeans, you know.
Positivity goes a long way.
It really does, you know, like even, you know, I remember like when I was like sort of early days starting, one of the first times, like I didn't get to skate in indoor park until I'd already been skating for maybe a year and a half or 2 years. And you'd rock up to the skate park and you'd have your stickers on your helmet and your ripped jeans and that sort of thing. And there'd always be those like 2 or 3 guys who clearly had like fresh out of the package from the post office, you know, the latest Mind Game sweats or whatever, and they're all doing their tricks perfectly and yada yada, and just that whole thing of like groms and like you know, people just being quick to denounce something that you've done, and it's like that attitude seems to have totally died, which, you know, thank fuck, because people used to be really like you know, way too hung up on trick standards and stuff in like a quite malicious way. Like I get people not wanting, you know, to see like step-ons and edits and that kind of thing, but you know, there were pockets, you know, just people being teenagers and testosterone flying about. People were way too picky, or like something I really hated about like most places, if you're skating like a mini ramp or a bowl, and I was someone who had no skill in transition whatsoever, you know, you start a run and if you fall, it's not your turn anymore. So if someone's trying to learn to drop in, you know, they might get like 4 goes in the space of half an hour. And it's like, you know, you just need to give beginners a chance, like, you know. And I think now all these people who are like in their 30s and have kids and have like a totally different perception on shit, you know, or girlfriends who are trying to skate or whatever it is, there just seems to be a lot more warmth now, because like rollerblading is now the thing that people are escaping to, rather than it being like their entire fucking life, you know. Like there is definitely a happy balance of that shit. You don't have to wake up thinking about, you know, topsoil and a drop rail. You know, there is other shit to do. Life goes on, you know.
It might even be a generation thing. You have to think, I suppose we're like I wasn't part of the first generation of rollerbladers. Do you know what I mean? Like the old school stuff. Like I took even when I started, like the scene was booming, like 1998 onwards. But I only skated for like 2 years and then stopped, forgot about it for 4 years. And when I came back, Unity was still available. Do you know what I mean? But I was buying into the last couple of issues, and then Unity stopped, and then like I don't want to say that the scene died. That's such a horrific term for it, but it did quieten down a bit, and I don't know why or how or general consensus, but it does seem to be picking up now. Like on UKBC, every week someone's coming back to rollerblading. Seeing anything upwards of like 18, 19 years, and they're coming back and getting involved again. But it was what you were saying earlier that intrigued me, and it's all that the scooter kids. Did you see the video of the rollerblader who did a grind on a grind box past the kid, and the kid's face dropped?
That was sick.
But that's it. It's making it look sick so that we can get the next generation of rollerbladers in, because there aren't that many right now, and rollerblading companies don't seem to cater for them very well. Celtic are getting in on it, in all fairness. The K looks really good.
It does.
But that's it, really. The USD Transformer, I think I've not seen any new information about that. I don't know whether or not they're going to continue to produce that. I've obviously not had a Roller Snakes magazine in a long time, or a Route 1 magazine in a long time.
Yeah.
So I've got to go out and find the information now. It's no longer delivered to me unless I'm specifically on BMAG or Blader Union.
Just you touching on the Celtic skate. Like, Connor's a top dude. Like, that's someone who, in terms of looking after the future and stuff, that is the sort of person that you would want to see people supporting, He also, like, always had... he always tended to keep a loose eye, or I certainly did, on, like, which companies were picking up which amps and stuff. And I don't know if that was my brain being ruined by Sky Sports and the transfer window, but I was always fascinated by people moving from one skate company to another and all that kind of thing. And Celtic always had, like, these amps from places that, like maybe Eastern Europe, that sort of thing, which weren't maybe in vogue at the time. And Celtic always just seemed to, like, spot. Connor just seems to have a good eye, good connections, however it is, for spotting talent, and yeah, he's been at it a long time. He knows the drill, and he's certainly helped to keep his own local community thriving. So yeah, hopefully it's about having more people like that in control. Is not really the right word, but you get what I'm sort of getting at there. It's the same with like Jake at Loco. You want to see people like that, running shit.
Putting their brand across in person.
Yeah.
And pushing a good attitude. Like, it's important that, you show a sort of a level of professionalism when it comes to it. Look at like Josh Gorky and Montre and stuff with Blading Camp. They're all over there, like, specifically spending entire weeks with groups of kids on that have flown over from wherever, and teaching them and getting them into it and promoting it. And with rollerblading, you get past the learning curve, don't you? And then that can often be all you need to suck you in. It's having those people around you. Like, you go to a skate park and there may only be one or two rollerbladers there, unless it's like a pre-planned session. Even my local, sometimes if I don't plan a session, there'll be one of me or two of me. If I'm lucky, like, it's fleeting passing, there'll just be a sea of scooter kids. Like, if we could get that sea of scooter kids to put that to one side and maybe give rollerblading a go, they'll probably have just as much fun. And I think, I'm not going to say that because I don't have an issue with scootering, but I do think that phase is, we're over that at the minute. Like, the boom from scootering seems to have calmed down.
It's interesting that you should say that, because here, certainly, I don't know if it's because the parks here are sort of BMX ran, I feel like, but the BMXers and the scooter users seem to utilize ramps in very similar ways. So scootering is like really, really stable here. And it sort of comes on to that thing that we were going to touch on before, which ramps are disappearing and how that's shaping how people session.
Yeah, we spoke a couple of times about how the objects around you can have like either a positive or a negative impact on how you progress as a rollerblader. If you're living in a town with nothing to skate, and I lived in Edale and there's a pub and someone's swimming pool in a back garden, there was nothing to skate, there was no skaters. Skating was not a thing there. It was pretty much impossible to take it up because there was nothing there but fields and sheep. So, but then you move to, like, we talked about spines and how they're going. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't see spine ramps being built on new parks, apart from specifically BMX and scooter parks.
Yeah.
I agree completely that they often ride ramps in the same way. Mm-hmm. And so where you find a lot of BMXs, you tend to find a lot of kids on scooters, because scooters is a good way to kind of doing the same as a BMX. But I'm guessing in an easier, safer way. The scooter's a little bit less, it's a lot lighter, isn't it? And it can be often just as nippy as a bike.
Yeah, there's a lot about, like, if you were someone who had never done an action sport before, I can see why scootering is so popular for a few reasons. First off being, we were talking about the lack of shops earlier for rollerblading and trying things on. Scooter is one size fits all. So for a parent, they don't need to worry about, wee Billy Joe's feet are going to be this size in 6 months' time. It's just buy the scooter, they're covered, They're also, and I'm not saying this to belittle the activity anyway, it's just a statement of fact. The actual process of scooting, as in going in a straight line, like, anyone can do it almost immediately. Like, it doesn't take, you do get those clumsy kids that it takes them like 2 or 3 months to be able to control a pair of rollerblades in a straight line, and a further, 6 to 9 months to get to a point where their arms aren't flailing around everywhere. On a scooter, you don't really have that. You sort of ugly duckling transition. Also, in terms of style, rollerbladers are very exposed style-wise compared to a BMXer or someone on a scooter, because our arms, I know it sounds like a really strange point, but their arms, that they like, a rollerblader is not holding on to anything, whereas someone on a scooter or a BMX is. So it kind of naturally, you're not going to have arms flailing around if they have to hold on to handlebars.
They do have a very rigid sort of stance on everything, don't they? Like, most of the scooter kids that I see on YouTube, they're all, they've got the handlebars tight in their crotch and they're spinning up in the air, but they're all nice and straight, nice and tight. Whereas with rollerbladers, like you say, our arms, we're not holding on to anything. You can just flow about, can't you?
Yeah, and some people, have amazing arms and really look really natural, and then other people, they just, for whatever reason, their arms aren't particularly aesthetically pleasing. Everyone has their own subjective rollerbladers that they point at and go, oh, that guy's really sick, but his style, maybe whatever, you get the same with, like, people don't seem to really appreciate floppy skates when it comes to style, like, do your buckles up, that sort of thing, so you could watch, like, an edit where Ian McLeod does, like, a full cab true sole on a down rail, which is fucking ridiculous, and all people are going to say is, yeah, but he needs to buckle his skates up, which is really annoying in one way, but you can sort of see the point, I suppose. But yeah, like, scooter kids, or scooters in general, they don't really have that. I think the one disadvantage for the scooter guys, is, I certainly noticed that once they hit past a certain age, the scooters are quite small, so there's a particular stance that people riding scooters adopt, and every time I see it, and you're going to see this now every time you see people on scooters, they kind of have their legs tucked to one side and, like, sort of almost glued together, and it kind of looks like a 4-year-old trying to hold in a piss.
Yeah.
You are going to see that. Next time you're at the skate park, that's all you're going to see, is all these people riding around who look like they're desperately trying to keep you in it. But yeah. But yeah, there's a lot that way, it's easy access. They also, because of the popularity of it, they don't have that thing of being, like, the fruit booter. Because no one who's young and impressionable wants to be doing the activity that all their mates think is really uncool. So yeah, that sort of it, you can see why it boomed. In terms of, you were also touching about how rollerblading kind of died a bit. I think one of the biggest things was piracy of DVDs. I think selling DVDs to begin with was a real fuck up on part of the rollerblading industry for most companies, apart from the very biggest ones, because the expense of shipping the things out, printing the disc, like that sort of hard media, and then there was a long period of time, well, it felt like a long period of time, but we'll say like between maybe 2006 and 2009 or 10, there was just so much constant high level free media that was going straight to Roller News or whatever, that people couldn't really justify purchasing, hard media discs, and I think it's only, you're starting to see now things improving slightly with those videos on demand. Like, I think the first one was it one of the Kelso projects? Was it Truth Two or something? Was maybe the first, like, it wasn't a team video, but yeah, like a longer sort of thing of like 30 minutes or whatever. I think that was one of the first ones that was, you pay for a download instead of for a hard disk. And I think that's that format, I think, definitely suits. And I think the challenge really facing that at the moment is price points, because you want that if you pay, that it's going to be a damn good edit. You don't want to pay $10 or something that is, mediocre. And also, I think Alex Brosco's Nowhere kind of, it kind of fucked people up not knowing what the price, because that was just 14 minutes of ridiculousness. Like, those closing like 5 or 6 tricks are some of the biggest and best tricks ever done on skates. And I think Nowhere cost, like, it was something like maybe $15, which for the content was, I feel really cheap, considering we used to spend like 30 quid on these like 22-minute DVDs,
Yeah.
which is insane.
I think the first download that I paid for was Veil 5, I think, on iTunes. My first actual download. And then I went back and got some stuff from Selfie and Nowhere with Brosco. I got that, and a few others, and I've actually enjoyed being able to buy my videos like that. But again, it is difficult to figure out what you're going to pay. But I suppose it's better than DVDs. Do you know what I mean?
Oh.
Like you're forking out a lot of expense for just the physical disc and the manufacturing and just the burning is a long process. But at some point, the rollerbladers that took part are supposed to get paid. You've only got so much money. But the Selfie stuff and doing it yourself online works, especially in a digital age. Make the most of it. I don't mind paying for my videos on demand, but a trailer is always good. I definitely want to know I'm getting something. I think I got the Don Bambrick video on demand as well, and a Chris Haffey one.
Yes.
Chris Haffey always goes big though, so it was that was one I just, and Don Bambrick, I straight up bought that.
Did you pick up the Montre Livingston one with all there was like lots of frames where there was like beer in the background and all that kind of shit. It was to I can't remember what track that was to, but it was really, really good. It'll have been released on YouTube for free by now, but it was a really, really sick one. And then pretty much anything that Jonas Hansen or Eugen Enan releases is pretty much guaranteed. Like Eugen's just destroying everything at the moment, which is good, because we've kind of needed. I felt there was kind of like, there's been a sort of a weird gap, I think, for a while with rollerblading, where there was that you used to log into Roller News, and there was always the same like list of maybe 10 to 15 guys that you're always looking out for something from, like Farmer, Stockwell, Haffey, Billy O'Neill, the Kelsos, and so on. And then there's a group of those guys who all seem to, within a couple of years of each other, all start to put out less content. Like Murda, not retired, because like you don't retire from playing with a children's toy, but you get the idea. You had like Latimer kind of vanished, Murda kind of vanished, Stockwell kind of stopped, Billy O'Neill stopped putting out content. So there was a whole like generation, if you will, of people who were the familiar faces, and it's been really really cool seeing like upcoming faces like. Traditionally you would look at park comps and you would see all the same sort of faces over and over and over. And then all of a sudden, Joe Atkinson decided he was on takeover. And, that's been really nice to see, because you're getting like a different style and that sort of thing. And one of the last guys who's still been putting like massively regular content until maybe the last sort of 6 months or so, and presumably stacking clips, is Brosco. But you're getting all these new guys who are kind of doing all the older tricks, but just the amount of refinement that's being done now, people I think are a lot less afraid of playing, with old fashioned things. Like even seems like a stupid thing, but like Eugen was doing like back forth the true top acid, and he was grabbing with both hands, which in the past was a no. You always grab with one hand, and he double grabbed his negative plate of his acid fit on the true top acid. And it was just one of those tricks where, you watch and, you feel sometimes that rollerblading is so saturated and everything's been done and that sort of thing. And you see something small like that and you think, and it just gives you something else to play with when you're at the skate park, And I like when people like that, him or Matt Ledoux, who unfortunately, only put out content for like 2 or 3 years. Latimer was probably one of the first of the main ones. And you've got those, the mushroom guys and like Danny Bear, Spazov. There's just a lot of guys now here doing things a little bit differently, and it's really, really good to see that at a time when people are coming back and are less self-conscious and are more willing to embrace new things. Just because I think now with people being older and having families and shit, they're just there to enjoy. So a lot of the sort of stigmas about doing certain tricks and that, they're all out the window. So I think the next like 5 years or so, artistically, if you will, are going to be a really, really exciting time to watch, because there's been this new generation that's come about, and also Instagram, people are able to have a session where, they're really, really vibing and they can just put a sick clip on Instagram and they don't have to worry about filming a section. Whereas there was all those older guys, you imagine like how many clips that have never been seen because no one had a camera, from the sort of Vinnie Minton, Kelso, Latimer kind of years, those guys on sessions. Now everyone has smartphones, so
exactly. Think about how much stuff we might have missed not having these things.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm at a point now where I'm in agreement with you. Like Instagram is great, but I'm more happy about our current generation, or at least the generation that, because I'm 32 this year, so I'm the top end of the generation I joined, I guess, and then left and have rejoined. But people are doing things differently. People are dressing in rollerblading now like different to anyone has ever dressed in rollerblading. Like, I think it's important to remove this whole ego thing and really enjoy rollerblading, just doing it for yourself and making it look as good as you want and making it look how you want it to look. Like Danny Beer, I know you mentioned that, prime example, just wears what he wants, skates how he wants, and he's unbelievable. So I think it's important that more people do that. Really just go out and enjoy it and share what they're up to and not be so worried about what other people think about the tricks and about the style. Like, it's fine if someone's got waiter arms and you want to point it out. You're more than entitled to. But, there's other things to focus on. Like, people, it's having the right mindset, and I think, again, in the next 5 years, we're going to see something different out of rollerblading, definitely. If people continue on the path that they're currently on, I see rollerblading booming, but then I see UKBC booming, if that makes sense. So I'm in there, and there's new people joining all the time, and old people getting back involved and talking about, the pre-quiet era, like from 96 onwards. people looking back and talking about it. I think it's good to remember that, but also to consider that, yeah, we are in a different time and we do have to be more embracing of other people and supporting each other, regardless of whether or not someone's come out in dungareens and velos. just enjoy it, definitely.
No, I got it. Like I remember when I think it was when The Truth came out, and it was really really good. And all anyone talked about for a couple of months after was the fact that Nick LaBar had a pair of dungarees on. And I was just like, this shit again, you know? It always seems to be something. And yeah, for a counterculture that is so celebratory of individualism, like there's so many bloody followers in rollerblading as well, you know? Everyone at one point, like Mind Game was practically like a rollerblade uniform at one stage. And then there was like for about a year and a half, I don't think I knew a rollerblader who didn't own a kendama. Like, where the fuck did those all go? You know?
Yep.
But yeah, it's good to see. And like, yeah, you mentioned like Danny Beer. Like, I'd certainly never seen someone do a thread the needle to a fast slide bunk at the end of a rail before. And I thought to myself, yep, you do your thing, dude. That's fucking amazing, you know.
Yeah, if that's what you want to do, then go and do it. If you know, I actually value someone going out of the way to do something a bit different, so that I can watch something that's a bit different. Looking back at old rollerblading, as much as I enjoyed it, it's mostly switch ups.
Yeah,
switch ups, and I appreciate, you know, the effort that's gone into the tricks and the practice and the man hours, I guess, but I'm at a point where I want to see people doing different things with their skates and using different objects and trying it with different setups. Like the flat setups are crazy. Some of the wheel setups that I've seen for flat setups are crazy, and people are still rollerblading in these things. Mm-hmm. Like I'm so close to being on my flat frame. Obviously, I've got to get better and then get a flat frame, but I've got my wheels coming, so I'm excited to get back on a flat frame, but I'm glad that people are riding flat now. It's good, because people used to ride flat. I was looking back at an old Unity mag, and they were riding some vert ramps, like Matt King and all that, and they didn't even have grind plates. They just riding rollerblades with all 8 wheels down and just flying before they would do it. Everything was called a rail slide. They didn't have trick names because there was no sole plates or H-blocks. And when they first started doing it, they just cut everything was a backside or a front side or a 50-50 or a rail slide.
Yeah.
Things have changed, and I'm not going to get into trick terminology on this. That's too much.
No, God, there is. It's very easy to nerd out about that. Like, I mean, there's certain groups of people you only need to say the word back savannah and shit's going to hit the fan, you know?
It's a very cautious topic. That's why I do plan on doing a terminology episode. That's definitely on the cards. I'm probably going to be touching on it with Frank Stoner and going over some of the I guess the timeline of the terminology, or at least what we can find out online.
That would be awesome.
But I'm at a point now where I'm again in the same way that I think rollerbladers just need to relax and just do what they want to do and how they want to do it. Like I'm at the same with tricks. I know my episode about topside bazoo may have come across as serious to some people, but it was quite the opposite. Like just do what you want to do. Like if I wanted to call it topside bazoo for the rest of my life, I could do, and I wouldn't care, like, because that's what I want to call my trick and that's how I want to do it. Like that's what we need, people to just stick to their morals, I guess, and just have a good time with it, like do it for themselves. But that can be quite restricting. Like I think a couple of times we've spoken about ramps and having the specific objects to skate, but
yeah,
like it can be quite restricting, can't it? Like not having a good skate park in your town. I mean, obviously Northern Ireland's doing a bit better now. Hopefully, if the scene increases a little bit.
Yeah, it's I think it's really helping with I've seen a few more names. Like there's a town maybe 50 miles or so away from here, And there's a guy came on UKBC recently, and he was saying, "Oh, I used to rollerblade, da 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 da." And we have like Northern Ireland has its own like private Facebook group, and I very naively assumed that anyone who was on that group, because it's been historically such a small country for rollerblading, I sort of naively assumed that I knew who every single rollerblader in the country was. And this guy came on and he's like, "Oh yeah, I was rollerblading like 15 years ago. I'm trying to get back into it." And I was like, I literally had no idea that this dude fucking existed. That's amazing, you know. So hopefully, like, I'm gonna hook up with that guy at some point, and we'll go for a skate. And it'll be interesting to hear how things were in his local town, because you do hear like you get these little whisperings of towns with people and skating, or occasionally you'll be something I do a lot. This is going to sound really sad, but you sort of have to in a country like this. I would spend a surprising amount of time on Google Earth looking for spots to save me petrol. Sometimes you'll find something and then you go drive to it because it looks reasonable in the satellite image, and then you look at it, it's like, oh, that's been waxed, and you mention it to a couple of your friends, and they're like, yeah, but that wasn't us, and you're like, oh, okay, that's potentially quite encouraging. It's just trying to connect people more. So I think individual towns and that it's kind of good to have like their own Facebook groups as well, because it sort of helps with unifying things. But yeah, like skate parks definitely. I know the standard, and I doubt if this is one which if this is a podcast here, so it does get released. I doubt any of my friends will be bothered about me saying this. The standard of rollerblading here, comparatively speaking, to the likes of Manchester or Glasgow, it is a lower standard. There's no denying it. Like, people are still doing sick things, but it's not at a level comparable to the sponsored pros and that sort of thing. And I think that's a reasonable statement. But I think when you do get people who like even visit a town, and like show up in your town and they do tricks, that can just lift things. Just having that one or two sort of talented guys in your town just like raises the whole level, and that's really sick, or having someone visit. Like recently, there's an outdoor park in Belfast called Bridges, and maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Al Hui and Dan O'Gorman were skating it, and there's a sort of like an up along down grind ledge where the flat is maybe about 15 feet. So this is like a long grind box. Dano did this disaster soul, like ignoring the up and the along, like landing on the down, and like the run up is like uphill, and there's very few people even on BMXs who have like cleared the gap. Never mind actually disaster day grind on the ledge, and you're like, holy shit! And that's the sort of just that one little moment like that can just get a bit of talk going and get people out and that sort of thing. And I think that's where skate parks, just having a central hub to meet up can be so good. Like we did have a boom period in like 2013 or so where there was a skate park which no longer exists now, that was run by these guys who were a bit shady, to be honest, but they did build us this coping box setup. And like the standard of progression in our local scene, like people who have been skating for like 10 years maybe learned more in that sort of 6 month to a year period than they had in like all of the 10 years accumulated before. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, skate park would be the main thing I'd fucking love to see here. I don't actually know what started off that ramble of mine, so sorry about that.
It definitely helps to have someone in a session that has a, in general, overall confidence boost in comparison to you. Like I used to go to Bones a lot in Stockport. We'd get there, and even when I went with my friends, I don't think any of my old crew will mind me saying so, but most of the time, like out of our crew, I'd been skating a lot longer. It was understandable that I was a bit more confident on rollerblades.
Yeah.
But then I'd get to Bones, and there was nothing that stood out about my skating to me, and I would often not always enjoy myself because I want to be pushed by people doing big tricks sometimes. And you'd get to Bones, and you'd have people like Alex Burston there, and Lee Devereux, Nick Lomax, John Hubbard,
Jesus.
all the Nottingham lot, and they're all doing massive tricks, and consistently as well. And just having those kind of people can push you a lot. So again, living over here in the UK, we're kind of there's a lot of UK rollerbladers, isn't there, in comparison to Northern Ireland?
Oh fuck yeah, like massively. So like I've would mentioned UKBC earlier and popularity and that sort of thing. I would speculate that per I don't know how to word this, but like for the amount of people in the UK, the ratio between rollerbladers and people in general, I would say the UK at the moment is probably one of the world hotspots for inline. You know,
I mean, even if you based it off UKBC, there's nearly 2,000 members in that group alone.
And just the amount of skate parks that are still open and that they are getting used by rollerbladers. Like, yes, the rollerbladers aren't the ones keeping the parks open. That's the scooter kids and the BMXers and the boarders, but mainly the scooters. But like people are still using them. It's interesting. This is a very, very quick segue. You mentioned John Hubbard. Is that dude still rolling?
Yeah, he's just started. Yeah, I think he took a little bit of time out, but I kept seeing all these like 30-day blade challenges, and then all of a sudden, he seems to. I've seen a clip. He's been taking part in the UKBC chatter, like getting involved in some of the posts and posting clips of him skating and stuff. So he seems to be on it again. And that's really good, man. He's got a really good positive attitude when it comes to rollerblading. Same for Joe Atkinson. Joe Atkinson just won. Is it FISA?
Oh, I always just assumed it was FISA, but I've no idea.
So he came out on top of that, which is crazy. And Soichiro Kaneshima won the Boshi skate off. I don't know if you saw any of the live streams in New York. It was really good.
I watched the podcast. I watched some of the podcasts, I should say. I sort of caught it a little late because I had gotten into the swing of Jump Street being on a Wednesday and sort of forgot that the John Julio one was going to be on a Friday, so I caught the tail end of it. And they had mentioned the Boshi Pope thing, and I was sort of thinking to myself, I'll need to watch some clips and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's something I'll definitely have to catch up on at some point now that I've a bit more free time and not entertaining and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's sick, man. No, it's just, you mentioned John Hubbard and my brain, like, it was really, really weird. There's just this instant like little ignite in my mind of like a sweat stance down a ledge in a Unity mag for like a profile. I think he's also heel rolling around some really, really tall hard wall. And like heel rolls are a trick that you never really see people do, but see people doing heel rolls on like high, narrow shit, like fuck that's just difficult.
I think I've actually got that interview,
I have a pile of Unity sitting within probably about 20 seconds distance of me, so I would be tempted to grab my own and we could probably do a bit of side-by-side flickers. Couple of things. Yeah, that would be interesting. Right, give me about 20 odd seconds here, man. But we'll see what I can dig up.
I've actually got it. I've actually found it.
Oh yeah.
The actual heel manual down that wall. In a holy part of Birmingham, it says.
That was Guy Crawford was doing a back royale on the back of that magazine, I think.
I got some soap shoes, a soap shoes advert on the back of.
Not the back.
Issue 51.
The front. I'm gonna have to look.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I found it myself. Yeah. 24. That's weird.
That's so good.
So what's your earliest Unity mag?
What's my
earliest Unity mag that you have?
Okay, so I'm pretty sure it is 2003. Issue 53, funnily enough. Which is actually quite late on, obviously, with it being 2000. But again, I started rollerblading in 98 and got into rollerblading again in 2004-ish. 2005, something like that. I was living on my own and taking too many drugs and living the dream. And then obviously found Unity Mag. I didn't even know it existed. Honestly, I didn't know it existed. I'd seen a couple of DVDs from back in the day. When I lived in Glossop, I was basically the only aggressive skater. But there was two lads, two brothers. I can't remember their names. They both had... I think both had black oxygens. And I just remember the house, and they had two massive Dalmatians. But I never saw them skate. They skated, but I'm guessing they skated with the generation that, because apparently they were good. They may have even been but these two brothers, one of them was considerably younger, but they both skated. I don't know where they skated, but I don't even know where I was going with that. Oh, and they used to watch skate DVDs at the house. So I used to go around. I've never seen them skate, but I used to watch a lot of skating with them, which was weird. But I never saw Unity Mag until I'd already quit and then come back. But there's no more print media now, so everything I get is basically online now. But you mentioned Jump Street Podcast. That's good.
Yes.
I'm enjoying Jump Street Podcast.
Same. Like I initially, whenever I heard that was going to happen, one thing which really struck me, right off the bat, was Billy O'Neill's involvement, because there's been a couple of things that Billy has talked about in the past, like when he left USD and handling the whole situation with Create Originals, and also handling that whole $3,000 saga with Kelso and Power Slack.
I was reading that earlier.
Yeah, but like any time that Billy spoke, like addressed any sort of situation, he always seemed like a really calm, mature, articulate head, and you really want someone, when it comes to a podcast or any sort of media, that's the sort of people you want involved. So as soon as I heard Billy was involved, I was like, okay, I'll definitely be tuning in for that shit, because there are a lot of people out there who are maybe good rollerbladers, but they're not good at being the face of rollerblading. You get these people who are like incredibly talented, but they're totally incapable of teaching, for example. That sort of thing. Like Billy's just seems to have it all, and I thought to myself, yeah, fucking A. So yeah, I've been loving Jump Street, really have. Looking forward to more.
I'm quite a fan of Austin in terms of his rollerblading, but I'm with you I like Billy's attitude. Even I think the last proper section I watched of Billy's was his charging section, but he still shreds, man. He still shreds, and so does Austin Paz. So they're OGs, but they're still quite current. They're doing the podcast and the skating, and they're both at the Boshi Pope, and they've got some t-shirts coming out, and they've had some great guests on. One of the perks of being in America is a lot of the American brands, and they've had John Julio, although I actually missed the them episode. I don't know if you caught it.
I caught that was the episode I was mentioning earlier, where it was on a Friday instead of the Wednesday, so I actually missed that, because the other two I did tune in and watch them live at I think it's 8 p.m. on a Wednesday normally. So I've only seen some of the Julio one, and I'm going to go back and watch it on like they usually upload it to YouTube like a day or two later. So yeah, I'm going to sit and watch that in full when I get a chance, possibly tomorrow night. But yeah, they're really, really good dudes. And like you touching on Austin, it became very evident very quickly during the first episode. It's like Austin's another really articulate dude as well, and it's just like, God, this is good, because there've been plenty of people in rollerblading who, all the best intentions in the world, just don't seem to know how to deliver a product or a service or an interview or whatever it happens to be, and those guys just seem to have nailed it right off the bat, which is very, very encouraging, and especially people like that who automatically command respect just because of what they've contributed to rollerblading in general, in terms of like just the sheer ability, like the stuff those guys have done in their sections, is insane. Like Austin has some of the best true topsouls in the world, and I don't think there's many people can compete with Billy O'Neill on any sort of torque based trick, that sort of thing. And they're both just two incredibly stylish dudes as well,
Yeah.
So yeah, they're pretty awesome. And yeah, you mentioned Billy still shredding. Like he did like a front torque on a pretty high drop rail, recently, and I looked at that and I was like, oh, that's really really good to see. I like seeing that people can still bring it. Very quick segue off that actually. There was a clip I saw recently, and it was a farmer, and he's back torquing a rail, and it just happened to nip on the BMAG one day, and I think it was not Jeff Hard. What's the other chap they hang out with? Brett Dazovich, and
Yeah.
he said that that was the first time that Farmer had back torqued a proper handrail, and I thought to myself, what? Like, I mean, that dude has done every trick imaginable. It just seemed really odd that there are still things, that he's human. I thought that was mental.
I think that plays well into what we were saying earlier, though, about how people often won't try things. Have you ever done a thread the needle to fast slide on a down rail?
Definitely.
Like, you're not always going to give things a go. Like, if it's out of your comfort zone or it's just not something you've ever approached, you might be put off. I know that there was a lot of stigma about dress sense and style and trick choice for a long time. But as you said, it's good that that kind of aspect of rollerblading has disappeared. But I don't know, like, it's one of those again with trick choice. Like, you just got to do what you want to do, and if there's something that you've not done before, go for it. Like, it's Chris Farmer of all people not done a back talk on a proper handrail. Like, it does
Yeah.
seem a little bit odd, doesn't it? But there's stuff that I've still not done on handrails, and I know that I could, but just not had the right people around me at the time, I guess, to push me to make me want to do it. I don't know, man. There's a rail near me that I want to back Savannah, and it's a big rail, and it's a big long rail, and I know I could do it. I'm waiting for my flat setup, mate. I am really waiting for that. That's going to be, because the run-up's not great, and I can hear my anti-rockers rattling around and bits of my skate wobbling. I've not been back actually to skate that rail on my them skates because I got them and then broke 3 ribs.
Yeah.
Ow! So breathing deep is quite hard work as well. But I do feel privileged living in Greater Manchester because the scene that I'm around and the objects that I've got, they're all pretty good. So it does promote good rollerbladers. The UK has always been quite well known for producing talented rollerbladers that I suppose have got all them tricks. I mean, Nick Lomax basically had every grind at one point, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I think that, the UK speaks for itself in terms of its all talent. But who's your favourite British rollerblader now?
Oh,
Like, who was your favourite when you were growing up? And I guess who's your favourite now?
I think when I was starting, just because he was so prominent and the sort of type of rollerblading that was, if you like, desirable to do at that time, to do like trains and everything. Chaz Sands was ahead of everybody when it came to rails, and there was like a period of time where if you weren't doing rails and your clothes weren't double XL, nothing else mattered, So Chaz was someone that I always thought was fucking insane. These days, probably just because of like, I know there's the border or whatever, but if I take it we're including the south of Ireland in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say just for longevity and like having everything seemingly on lock on first go, and has never really lost it. Like, I kind of look at Al Hui as like a UK version of Richie Eisler. He just
Okay. Yeah.
he's just always had really really technical tricks. He's always had the ability to go big. Another thing that I like as well, and it's something that I've appreciated more and more and more as I get as my sort of taste. I feel like your taste always changes. I do like it when people include lines in their footage, because you see so much more of it's not just about the trick. Like, I mean, there's so many people can go to an indoor park and they can throw a hurricane topsoul down a box, and that's amazing in and of itself. But like, more and more I start to like appreciate things like when people turn their head, when they're going fakey between two grindable obstacles, they like think about the next trick, that sort of thing. I'm starting to notice an awful lot more of that shit, like whether or not a trick's been done illusion or not, that sort of thing. And when it comes to like the little details, Al is someone who just there's a lot going on there, and Eisler and I suppose the Kelsos in a way are sort of the same. So probably at the minute, like when you do get Al clips, I really appreciate them, and Lomax is just a machine, and I really respect that, So yeah, probably at the minute those two, but anyone who's getting out and strapping up, that's the main thing,
Yeah. There's a couple of UK pros still, isn't there? I mean, Burston's just flown out. I'm not sure where he's gone. I can't remember. But he's still skating. He's still cracking on. Lomax is still skating, isn't he? But he's in Barca now.
Yeah, but
he's living over there.
Burston, actually, you mentioned him, Burston. Burston's one of those dudes who, like, I've never skated with him in the flesh. I've only seen footage of the guy. I would love to know what that guy is doing outside of rollerblading to maintain his physicality, because he seems to be a really flexible dude. There's a lot of like little subtle things that I see people do tricks, like some of the ones you look out for sometimes if you're watching edits is people who are able to true top porn, and they're able to look forward like the entire way through the trick. At no point do they look at their feet and then look through the window, as I call it, where you look under your sort of hanging arm. He seems to be one of these people who, when he true topsides, like his head is facing forward the whole way, and like that requires a lot of flexibility, like going through your spine as you sort of turn, above the hips and that sort of thing. And like Frankie Morales is another one. If you've watched Frankie Morales do a true top porn, his head never looks backwards to spot the rail and then turn around again. He's always just able to look forward. And I find like people's biomechanics and that sort of thing, that's another thing I'm starting to appreciate way more. And Burston just seems really, really flexible, and you really see it on the true top sides. And he's one of those people who, when he back torques, his toes are pointing back on themselves, rather than the people who do like sometimes people call it a torqueo, where you do a back torque and it's sort of like closer to a machio than it is to like a reverse backslide, if you like. And he's just got those really, really flexed kind of things, and that sort of way of bouncing on a landing and working a ramp. You can really see like a real degree of flexibility there. And I think that sort of style, Sagona has it, Latimer had it. You see Vinnie Minton had it as well when he would land, like he's very deep squatted landings. Farmer to a degree as well. People have that sort of flexibility. Like, I love watching people like that skate.
They really absorb the landing when they fall.
Yeah.
Again, Burston, definitely, I completely agree with his true top horns. But then I can do them like that because I spin that way and I'm able to keep my head looking the other way. So I'm quite fortunate that when I do true top horns, especially now, well, not right now, but usually speaking, I can get them. And I guess just being flexible in your middle allows a lot of that movement to take place if you're not very flexible in your core. I know that Burston's really into his yoga and his stretching and keeping fit and eating healthy, and you're going to get out of it what you put into it, I suppose. If you're really into the yoga, you're going to be more flexible. It's something that I really want to achieve, is to be more flexible, man. Honestly, like with getting old, I creak and crack, and currently because of where I broke my ribs at the back, which is obviously quite sore, because if I'd have broke them at the front, I could probably have laid down and cracked on my day, but because it's right at the back, almost where my spine is, an inch or two away from it, it's just too much. I can't move properly. I got all these cushions on my chair to try and support me. But yoga is helping. I've been actually using yoga, just slowly, just relaxing and stretching and moving my body around, just trying, because there's so much swelling as well, because I obviously fell on this rail pretty hard. The yoga is great. Yoga is good for the body, it's good for the mind, and I think Burston would probably say the same thing. He's got a really positive attitude when it comes to rollerblading, and I've seen a lot of positivity in the sport at the moment. I think it's I think that's how we're going to get more kids involved. I've said it a couple of times, like having more people involved in the sport is important. Do you know what I mean?
No, big time. Like even like I see people. If you think of like rollerblading as like a presentation of your imagination and your ability and what you can do, um, I've noticed certainly in past years people are a lot more quick to celebrate what they've just done, and there's a real like vibe to that. Like there's which is really really good for people looking at it and thinking, God, that's something I want to do. Like there used to be a really really strange thing where people would land tricks that you sort of think to yourself, God, that person may never land that trick again. And these people almost looked determined to be like stony faced and play it off like, yeah, I land that shit all the time, whatever. And like that does not make the activity look fun at all, you know. And like people seem to have totally like gotten over doing that, and I think that's an age thing and a maturity thing. But yeah, like it does look a lot more appealing, and I do find like the vibe, sometimes is half the battle. Like I had a really really weird, very subjective experience when I was skating, just a box in front of some scooter kids, and I was having a really really fun day. I was chilled out, earphones in, happy music blasting in the ears, and I did this like rocket macchio on the box, and there was nothing special whatsoever about this grind, but I've obviously been feeling it, and a couple of kids came up to me and were like, "Oh, that was really cool" and stuff. Even though about 2 minutes before, a friend of mine who's like way better than me had like true topsoil this box, but they didn't care, which I found really really strange. And I also find like that as well, like in terms of presentation of the activity to other people, I find it really interesting what the general public perceive as cool or just appealing. Like I know that I will get far more appreciation from Joe Blogs in the street for riding fakie down some stairs, which is not exactly difficult, than someone doing like a complicated I don't know, like an illusion top horn or something. No one who's a pedestrian is going to know the difference between an illusion top horn and a standard one. But they'll see someone going backwards and like, oh fuck, I want to do that shit. Like it's really really weird. Speaking to people about what they find cool.
Yeah, I think when you get to a point where you understand all the terminology and rollerbladers talking to rollerbladers, you're going to get hyped off certain things because you understand the terms, so you can envision what the rollerbladers or what each other has tried to achieve and how you've tried to land this trick. But to the general Joe Blogs, yeah, like, something stunty, something I guess boisterous, stair bashing, riding down a massive stair set fakie. It's a bit show offy, but I guess that's kind of what you're going for, something that's going to catch someone's attention.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of bringing more people in, then I guess there needs to be stability within rollerblading to bring people into, doesn't there? And this, I think, I don't know if you know much about who owns what these days in rollerblading, but I saw something interesting, which was the Sean Darst Pro Skate, which
yes,
them skates released, and they openly in public announced essentially what Sean was going to be earning from having his pro model.
Good move, because like I think for a long time there's been an awful lot of like people in the industry. I do understand why to a certain degree, but people have been really unwilling to discuss money. And I think now, with rollerblading like financially being, relatively dead on its feet, and more people understanding like the struggle, whether it's with their own job or like with me being self-employed, like I'm very very conscious of things like advertising and making sure things are priced right and that sort of thing. I do think that sort of openness is far better, and like they're mentioning the royalties, like it was going to be 15 instead of 2 or whatever, and I was like, fuck, that's really really good. And I also hadn't realized just how poor it had been in the past for people, like if if you've like a 200 quid skate with your name on it, you want to be making more than 2 quid a sale, like, which yeah, and I definitely think you'll get more people will support, knowing that it is going to make a difference for someone. In the same way that I really liked that Adam Johnson, there was some of those edits that you mentioned, the Bambrack one earlier. There's a couple of those where, they've laid out, it's like, oh, 50% is going to go to the person filming and 50% is going to go to the skater and stuff like that. I definitely find myself more drawn in by stuff like that because I know who I'm supporting and I know how much, and even though it's only one little bit, with a download particularly, you think to yourself, what if that video got like 2,000 downloads or whatever, because I remember like was it the truth? I think there were 3,000 downloads and it was $10 a pop, so there was like $30,000 presumably made, for the truth. That's big money for skating, and yeah, if people are open about that shit, I can see them doing really well because John, like there was that initial sort of update and slash announcement he had where he's explaining it's like things financially aren't great, but I've got to take a risk, and I don't want to be working in the post office, and that being my sole thing, and that kind of thing, like I think people are going to be very quick to support John and everything he's trying to do, and that's definitely good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if anything were to occur between the likes of John and, I feel really bad for forgetting his name, but in the second Jump Street podcast, they were talking about the community projects in New York.
Was it John Ortiz?
Yes, it was John Ortiz, and then the other guy, is it Ray Mendez?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you want to see collaborations there, like if those, you imagine like you had like one school which has like 40 kids, and all those 40 kids are on the M's, that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sort of thing you can foresee in the future coming, those sort of bits of networking, and that's how Rollroom can kind of, first of all, has to take back control of itself before it can worry about growth,
Yeah, I think transparency is going to be a big thing over the next couple of years. I think it's actually important because this is the first time we've seen it in a few years where, I mean, John's always been open and honest. Even, I guess, like he mentions in the Mushroom Blading podcast, like, people often thought he was the face of Velo when he was the face of Velo, but that was it.
Yeah.
This is his thing. This is his own company. He's doing it. He's invested his own money and his own time. And he's able to actually now pay his skaters properly. Like, and I don't know if Rollerblade has signed contracts these days. I know that there was some talk of contracts on Kelso's post, but there should be. And I don't know who owns Razors these days. I don't know. I remember some talk on AMO at one point about Brian Aragon taking over and running Razors or running the distribution aspects of it, but I don't know what happened.
He had like a brief, I think the way it worked out was he had some sort of brief managerial role, but whether that's been for literally one warehouse or whatever, it'll still be that, and the God, is he Wagner? Can't remember his surname, but it'll still be the same dude, I would imagine.
Yeah,
for a long time. Yeah, like Aragon, I think, was one of the sensible ones. He saw where things were going, and he got out and he got his good job, and fair fucks to him, because yeah, like I mean, the Razors house, I think, ended up being like scooter people in it and all that sort of shit, which, like, I mean, looking in from the outside, that whole thing with Razors, something I could never warm to with Razors, particularly when it came to that fucking Razors house, was it always had this, like, they were presenting this lifestyle, like this MTV Cribs type shit, there's an edit, particularly they're using like a Chamillionaire song, it's like, I want to give all my haters love or whatever, and they've got all these stupid like lifestyle shots of them living it up in Champagne and that, and it's like, look, we all know you're broke as fuck, so why are you doing that shit? You know what I mean? People appreciate, knowing what the score is with an industry and that sort of thing. Not, people getting hyped and shit that's not legit. Like, even I think there was uh, fuck, what was it? Yeah, Aragon and Haffy played that game of Blade, and there's like a little sort of joke in it, you know, like Haffy's like, I took the bus, and people are commenting on the fact that Aragon had like what's probably been a second-hand Merc C class, like it
Yeah.
was, you know, like he was living the dream, and it's like, you know, it's just I don't know, I just find there's something really disengaging about the people, you know, pretense, particularly when it comes to finance, you know. And I think this sort of newer and fresher attitude of just like, look, you know, here's the situation with the industry right now. Here's what we're trying to do. Support where you can. That would be great. Cheers, you know. And if we can just get, I think more concentration of resources would be good. Like one thing I'm sort of always a bit hesitant about is there has been a little explosion again of like t-shirt companies and shit. And like we've kind of seen that before, where there's been too many t-shirt companies at once and too many wheel companies at once, and you're sort of spreading the butter too thin. And
Hmm.
you just want to see like a few legit guys running boot frame and wheel companies getting supported, and the relevant rollerbladers getting the royalties, and the VODs doing well, and you know that's all you need really, and maybe more sort of unification. Like people always mention roller rinks, and people, you know, I definitely think, you know, with people doing Derby, we're sort of segueing onto the sort of very unintentionally the how to save rollerblading discussion, which does not need to be had because it's been done a million times. So it wasn't deliberate, but yeah, just you can't help but air thoughts and shit, you know, because it's been so broken for so long, and some of the fixes just seem so bloody obvious. And
Yeah.
one of them is transparency, big time.
But also, the thing is, in terms of the saving rollerblading conversation, yeah, again, it's been had that many times. Whenever you get close to accidentally crossing into that territory, it's usually not intentional.
Yeah,
Mostly because, in my opinion, and a few other people that I've spoken to, including Kato, like unification between all the different brands is key. Like, I'd rather see at least one good company doing really well and being able to support the riders than 40 different
yeah,
t-shirt companies all struggling to get by and all struggling to support the riders, and you're not seeing anyone do anything because nobody's being supported enough to do anything with it. It's, you know, I wish rollerbladers got paid properly, but they're currently sort of stuck in a situation that doesn't really promote that. But I think that there's a lot of companies that could work together to do good things and should be working together to do more, especially like the boot brands, like getting involved with each other. But rollerblading is such a small. Razors aren't essentially worried about going out of business. They're just, most of their money comes from other resources now, I guess, for
yeah,
scooters and whatnot. Like Sunshine Distribution's pretty big, and I don't think there's anything wrong with rollerbladers branching out and pulling in people from other big wheeled sports. And the quads are something else, man. Like, have you seen what some of the extreme quadders can do?
yeah. I was really shocked. Like even I think it might have been Matt King. Someone not too long ago, maybe 6 weeks or so ago, showed me footage from a VHS from like 1990, maybe 19. What was it, 1993 or was it 1989? Can't remember which. But I mean, the quad guys were doing like really sick stuff. Like someone did like it basically looked like a McTwist on like a vert, and they're landing back in with the feet. God, there's a name for it, and I'm so embarrassed that I can't think of it right now.
Like surfing, like parallel.
Yes, side surfing. That's
Toys
the one.
front,
Yeah,
yeah.
and like they were landing like that, you know, out of like a McTwist, and I was like, that's crazy.
I think I've seen that video. They were actually like carving the ball like that and launching out of the ball in that position, weren't they, with their feet? And they were spinning and landing like that again.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's back then, like that's pre-internet, so those people were just getting that from themselves and their local community, and obviously the standard has been really, really high. and they didn't have like Instagram or YouTube or DVDs for a reference point. So yeah, like it's just that it's insane. Like that was the level, like I don't know exactly how that has come about other than there just being a lot of talented individuals at the right time. Sometimes you do just get lightning in a bottle that way. But yeah, that was bonkers. And yeah, I did see recently some more modern sort of footage on quads, and there's one of the girls who is sort of doing derby and inline at the minute with us at the skate park. She sent me like footage of a comp which was yeah, it was pretty much all female, and they're all on quads, and they're killing this bowl. Like they're doing tricks that sort of would maybe be um they wouldn't be within the sort of parameters that would be typical of like inline. So like one thing I always notice with inliners is when we talk about flips, we tend not to like front flips. We tend to prefer misties. Just seem like aesthetically, people seem to be a lot more into flips that involve some sort of spin or off-axis rotation than any sort of like straight flip, like a front flip, or like if a back flip was to be done in that sort of that Russian sort of way, like done pike with the legs straight. That's not shit that rollerbladers want to see. We don't like the sort of more conventional looking things, but these girls were doing stuff like that, and they obviously don't have those same sort of thoughts and opinions rollerblading's development, in the way it has, and like they're just absolutely killing it.
There's a really good sort of collection of rollerbladers who are putting in 100%, I guess, and not using conventional hardware. Obviously, I love my slicks in terms of my anti-rockers, but I want to skate flat again. I don't think I'm ever going to get into quads. I don't think that's my thing. I get weirded out when I put them on. Yeah. In terms of how they feel, definitely.
They don't feel like your ankle is encased in a cement brief block.
No, I mean, I've always been quite open to trying out different hardware and different skates and stuff. The article I read today on the internet said that I've got it saved, so I will leave a link. I'll send it to you as well. Like basically, in 1995, there was an estimated 22 million rollerbladers globally. That's a lot of rollerbladers. And then in 2010, they estimated about 8 million. So that's quite a reduction, isn't it? From 22 million in global rollerbladers to just shy of 8 million in 2010. I don't know where we're at now, but I definitely think that it's an unfair statistic because rollerbladers are different to, I guess, quads. I don't know how they will have got those figures, probably from skate sales and things like that. But
is there a breakdown of those figures?
Is there
like a breakdown, because you would have like the speed and the wrecked skates and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Because there was a period of time where something that I don't really hear people talking about now, which I imagine would have been a lot bigger in the 90s. Anyone I know who does skiing, there used to be this big idea of like during the off season you use rollerblades and those ski poles, just on tarmac, whereas like anyone I know who skis has never used rollerblades for that purpose. And I've always been curious as to how big a percentage of the market that would have been during the 90s when advertising's so strong and like alternate internet media, you see something advertised and you think it's right for you, you just go ahead and buy, so yeah, it would be interesting if there was a more sort of broken down thing on those statistics,
I will take a look. They said that there was a decline in rollerblading usage, and it coincided with a decline in hockey in terms of roller hockey. So I guess ice hockey players in the summer using it for practice.
So the effect of the Mighty Ducks 1 and 2 wore off, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, I'm guessing so. I don't even know where my phone is, man. I have absolutely no idea. I was obviously sat on the toilet, just hunting down rollerblading facts about numbers, and I have either left it in the bathroom or...
never fear, man.
somewhere else. Oh my god, it gets so hot podcasting. I don't know if you've sat and spoken on the phone for a few hours before. Me and Matty Vella, for our first episode, we spoke for like 3 hours, and it was the hottest day, and it was just a disaster, man. Like sitting in the lounge. I'm unfortunate that I don't have too long to chat. I've got Emily waiting upstairs. She wants to come back downstairs.
I will not fear, man. Like I'm pretty close to wanting to head to bed myself. Like my work, like I work with dogs basically, and tomorrow I've quite a lot I need to see and that sort of thing. So like I'm up for wrapping up soon as well. So don't be stressing.
You've always been like literally, as soon as the Facebook page was set up, we've spoken since, haven't we? Really,
pretty much.
We've pretty much kept in touch since, and I'm sure we will continue to do so. It's just timing today. It's just been a bit funny. But I was going to ask you something. I know we talked a little bit about skate parks and design, and I'm going to be building one here in Leigh.
Nice.
I've sort of started the process. I'm trying to recruit some people. I keep finding skateboarders. They keep saying they're going to take part. They don't get in touch. It's really frustrating.
It's funny you should subject up. I have there's a design ages ago I drew for a skate park which was due to close, and so there was never any chance of it happening anyway. And then recently, I can't remember who it was, and I feel pretty bad that I don't, but I'll try and find out for you. But I actually put a drawing on UKBC, and they used some sort of like 3D graphic software. Like I'm a real Luddite, so I couldn't tell you what it is. But they actually did like a mock-up of my like sketch, and it actually turned out really, really sick. And I'll have to send it to you. It's basically like a rollerblader's dream. I basically made like a big fun box which had a combination of like a rainbow box, a flat box, so it's when you hit it, it's low, but there's like a drop off each side. A sort of triangle box, and your standard up, along, down, and all sort of pieced together so that it's like just one big box. But that's definitely something that in terms of design, I would fire it your way, because I think for most people who like a coping box, it's pretty much rollerblade porn, So
yeah,
I'll fire that your way, man. Certainly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's funny. I actually do recall vaguely this post. I think I posted something of mine on there. I've obviously built 2 skate parks in the past, or at least been a part of the funding committee and the crowdfunding, the fundraising committee. I chaired the first group that I was in, and then took part in the second, although I didn't chair it primarily because I didn't have the time. I still went to the meetings every week, and I'm going to be doing that in Leigh. I'm going to try and get a spine ramp built. My goal is to try and build a massive spine and then hold a spine comp, because I want to see some more spine. I've seen people like Roman Abrat start skating spines, and we've had a few people skating spines recently. There was a spine at Bromley Blade Bash that seemed to get a lot of usage. And it's really good to see rollerbladers skate spine, because they just look so good skating spine, so good. But I need to hunt down a good spine. I don't know if anyone has been sort of skating one. I'm gonna have to hunt down one.
Funny, the ramp house that I skate at the minute, they have like their mini ramp is maybe 4.5 feet tall. Maybe I'm really shit at judging size, and I'm not in the place. We'll say it's 4.5 to 5 feet, and it's a mini ramp. They've got a spine in the middle of the mini ramp, and that's actually a really fun setup. So like we had been talking about the lack of spine ramps, and it's turned out there's one in my local now. But yeah, that's really good. I'll send you a couple of photos of that at some stage. But yeah, you mentioned spines, how good it looks from rollerblades, like and a Brat, an Aragon, and Roman Godin. People who can do 900s on spines, that just seems totally wrong to me.
You've got to know you've got it.
Big time. Like I'm someone who, I've very little spine experience, and I was trying tonight to learn how to 180 the spine, and like I ended myself, and just the thought of like being able to control a rotation over, because you're not traveling far in terms of like forward trajectory. It's all going up and coming down inside another lip, and it's just there's just so much to think about. You know, if you were to throw a big spin and to throw a nine, I just think is it's one of there's certain tricks that I look at with rollerblading that are quite unique. Like there's no BMX or skate equivalent of a Royale, you know, and fish brains I think are a pretty unique thing to our sport as well. But like I doubt, well, as soon as I say it, some Asian kid's going to upload to YouTube who's like 8 years old tomorrow. But I doubt there's many activities, you know, where 900s are being thrown on spines, you know, and rollerblading's got one of those things like sort of for now unique to its discipline, you know.
Yeah. There's something about spine. I think it's because if you skate in a quarter pipe, you launch out of the ramp and you land in the same ramp, so you can do whatever, but you're not really changing your body position as such. When you see people like Takeshi skate invert, he'll fly up, he'll fly down, that's fine. But when you skate in a ramp, most people who spin over a ramp these days spin over a ramp and they're basically flat or upside down, ready to land in the transition on the other side, because you do kind of have to change your body position for skating spine. I think that adds a different level to doing tricks in the air, like skating spine. I remember the front at Weymouth used to have a good spine, didn't it? I don't know if they've still got it. Some of the old I'm going to try and find some of the stuff from the Unity magazine. There was some old spine stuff. We need more spine comps. We need some spine comps. Like specifically spine comps, because there are some rollerblades in the UK that have still got some tricks on spine. But when you go to a park comp or an obstacle competition, the spine often gets forgotten about these days. So.
I think generally, like apart from a very small number of exceptions, when it comes to park comps, it's always 9 times out of 10, it's going to be some sort of spin the grind disaster is going to win. In a park comp. Certainly I felt that way during that sort of period of time between maybe 05 and 08 when Aragon and Hathi were just battling each other, and I think that's kind of a lot of people have tried to copy paste that sort of format of skating, and I love it when like a best trick is something like, you know, a transfer from a spine to a jump box, and it's like maybe a flat spin 720 or something like that there. I love seeing shit like that do well, you know, because people, our sport, you know, became very, very grind orientated for a while. You know, there's sections that even though I like them, there's a part of me now looks at them with a different light. Like when I was younger, I would have absolutely adored the Salmon section, which has sands. And like these days I look at it and like not a single trick in that is a non-grinding trick. You know, and it sort of feels like sort of almost incomplete in a way now to like my modern eyes, which is fair enough, because, you know, trends change and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I think the same way, you know, if I see an edit now and it doesn't have a line in it, you know, or you see people not doing lines, like it's one thing which maybe makes me not rate Aragon as like my number one. Is like he didn't have a lot of lines. He threw an awful lot of insane hammers, but one hit, one spot is, you know, it's sick and everything, but there's something about, you know, putting a line together and every component being absolutely perfect between the run up, the bits in between the tricks and the tricks themselves. Like that takes an incredible amount of skill. Like even your most basic tricks, it's quite easy to just, you know, wave an arm a bit here or there and that sort of thing. And I think with lines, you know, you see that a lot more. You see that sort of level of skill. And Stockwell, you know, like years ago in park comps, Stockwell never did well at park comps, but he was one of the only people, generally speaking, who was like able to cover an entire park and use every single ramp. But it didn't matter to people because he didn't do the disaster 540 alley up topsoul, you know. And so I like seeing shit outside of that sort of format do well.
I think it's important for that kind of stuff to do well. I think that's the thing. Like I was saying in UKBC the other day, like judging is always important when it comes to parks. This is why I kind of want a spine jam of some kind, because if you're looking at, you know, your spine, for example, you've got the spine and I'm sure you've got a quarter pipe on each side, haven't you?
Yeah.
And, you know, if you can skate quarter pipes and spines well, you can have lines for days on some of these bigger spines. And I think that'd be a good way to. But I'm like you. I like to see my lines. You know, when I film some of the video logs and my random crap for Facebook, I will always leave the bits in the extra, like watching the Boshi Pope skate off. People live streaming it. Like the live streams are fun. I'm really enjoying the live streams of stuff because you get to see all the other stuff that's, you know, cut out in your stereotypical Kelso edit, like the run up to tricks and people doing weird stuff before you've got to the hammer. Like it's not all about hammers anymore. I think with the introduction of social media and live streaming, you are seeing a lot more from these events. I think it's important. Like you used to have the Bitter Cold Showdown, didn't they? They live streamed that for a while.
Yeah.
But now everyone's just live streaming comps from their phone. So although I'm not getting out at the moment, I'm still happy to be able to watch everyone skate and stuff. It's good. But it's good that other stuff's getting attention. Like we had everyone out doing cab drivers, didn't we? And rocket grabs. Everyone in the UK is going out trying to do a rocket grab one week. Like it's good that people are trying different stuff, and it's not about how it looks, and it's about just taking part and giving it a go. I think the rocket grab said a lot about that.
You're right. More rocket machios. I'm all for it.
Doing stuff different. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's good. The scene's good. I'm really enjoying being part of it in a minute. I know that obviously there's an ocean between you and I.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but you know, a plane or a boat, these things can be addressed. You know.
Yeah. I'll take a trip over. I've got a passport coming because I'm pretty much determined that I'll be making Winter Clash this time around.
Nice.
I don't know if you saw, but Slam Jam just posted an announcement about the gathering, which is going to be in September. It'd be good if there was a massive turnout. I remember looking at, again, old Unity mags and Slam Jam and Chaz Sands Invitational and stuff. Like, the amount of rollerbladers that turned up for these events was insane. I think it'd be cool if we could get everyone to this gathering. We'll see, won't we?
I think that's similar to the thing we were saying earlier about, you know, something too many t-shirt companies, too many wheel companies. I think having a smaller number of like top quality competitions is better than there being competitions every month or whatever, because if you have like say 2 or 3 massive events a year and people know when they're going to be and they can save up for them, like that helps a lot. You know, like if you have an event and you know it's always going to be like the third weekend in October or whatever it happens to be, you know, you can plan in advance. Whereas like sometimes I see stuff pop up on Facebook and it's like I'm not getting to that shit. You know, I want to.
No, no. You've given me 3 weeks to plan and sort my life out, and you want me to travel around. Like I do appreciate the fact that people are going out of their way and setting up events and trying to get rollerblades to come and skate in their towns and wherever, and that's great. It's great to see, but sometimes a little bit more notice goes a long way. And I think definitely having a consistent system for competitions in the UK it actually boost people's participation because they already know what's coming. And they can be prepared for it. And Winter Clash is just one of those. It happens every year, and for the last 2 years I've missed it. So this year, man, I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to do it. I think that's it, really, in terms of my competitions for this year. I don't know how long I'm going to be out of my rib. I already feel better. Like once I've warmed up, it feels better. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just want to skate. Yeah,
well, it's like I always say to people, you know, if you are injured, like, it's better waiting 2 extra weeks now than rushing it and missing an extra 6 months, you know, so just rest up and keep watching videos and get yourself juiced for when you do get back into it. And certainly at some stage, I was saying to a friend of mine, like, we want to do, like, some sort of, like, tour, probably just, like, rent a van and go, maybe do like 7 different big skate parks in a week or something at some stage, because you know, the parks in this country are so poor. We want to do like a little, you know, pilgrimage, if you like, do something like hit Unit, hit Stoke Plaza, hit Rampworks, hit, you know, Adrenaline Alley, all that sort of thing, try and do it all in a week and just enjoy it, that sort of thing. And certainly as and when I get to a stage where, you know, him and I and a couple of other guys are planning that, you know, if you've any recommendations or if I'm heading anywhere that's near your way, I'll hit you up or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I can get around and driving and stuff. Rampworks is always a good shout. And, you know, if you want a coping box, Rampworks is full of them now. They've got some really good ones.
That's the hilarious thing. Like, I'll go to Rampworks, which is this, big park with lots of different options, and I'll probably stick to the one coping box the entirety of my time there, just because it's such a novel feature,
Yeah.
to me, because we don't have them here, and they're just so bloody good for learning on.
It's like ramp one, they've got a spine ramp, but it's the tiniest spine ramp, and I'll go and I'll spend 2 hours flipping and spinning over it. Just because it's something that I've not had for a while. It's not something that I have locally. I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna go with this skate park in Lee. I've not, even had a consultation with anyone yet, but we're ready to go social media wise. I've just got to sort out the next meeting and get on with it really. I'm not going to be doing podcasts about skate park construction regularly, but I am going to do another. I've got quite a lot of experience with doing it. I've done it twice now. There's quite a few people in the UK trying to get them. I've seen Wheelscapes are trying to go out to tender for a lot of these like local parks. So people are really trying to do it, and there's a lot of stuff that you've got to do as well, like raise your own, chunk of money so that you can get some of these big pots of money that the government, hands out to local districts and stuff. So yeah. I was going to do an episode on it, but I've got a couple of things going on this week, and I need to do the video log for Battle My Crew. I don't know how you are crew wise. But if there's a few of you could get in on it.
Yeah, God, that could be like the standard mightn't be the highest, but if it's the joy of taking part, I could certainly chat to a couple of people, and you just never know.
Yeah. Right, well, Kevin, it's been lovely, mate. But I'm hot. Yeah, I need to get some sleep, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's 1 a.m. and that's late enough. These days, it's ironic when you're a kid, all you want to do is stay up late, and as you get older, it's like all you want to do is go to bed at 10.
Get in bed and sleep.
Right.
That's basically, especially now that I'm injured, man. That's basically what I'm doing. Just trying to sit, recover. Like my wrists are getting comfortable. I fell at Orford with Lewis Yoxall, and it's been a long time since I fall and really heavy on my wrists. And for a few days, I just felt it all the time in the back of my wrist bones and stuff. Really sore. But they seem to be back in shape now, having taken the last 2 weeks off to sit and do nothing. It's been refreshing, much needed.
Absolute worst, wrist, hips, and tailbones. I definitely recommend for myself the lower body now. Like, I invested in some crash shorts a while ago, and I have not looked back on that shit. They're so good. So yeah, I'm all about not falling now. Because like the sort of work I do, I need my body to be in reasonable shape, and I can't really afford any injuries that would be debilitating when it comes to like my hands and my feet. I do a lot of walking with dogs, and like I need my hands for holding on the leads in the training side. Like I'm careful about that shit. But yeah, 1 a.m. and we're both probably, I'm low on laptop battery, you're probably low on phone battery. So if you want to wrap up, that's all good, man.
Yeah, man. Cheers for bearing with me.
Gosh, not at all, mate. It was an absolute pleasure to finally get chatting to you, and I'm sure we'll get another chat in at some stage again soon when we're mutually free or whatever. Just play it by ear, and best of luck.
You can hit me up on Facebook whenever. Do you know what I mean? You have to keep me in the loop with this mainland tour.
Yeah, big time. It's just gonna be like just gonna be a few of us, probably like between 3 and 5, and it's just one of those things where if we do it once, we'll maybe try and make it a once a year thing. But it's something I've always wanted to do, and yeah, just with the parks here are never gonna be particularly rollerblade suited, and there's just so few parks. So if you want to progress, you need the right kind of ramps, and literally this all comes pretty much this whole thing of wanting to tour comes down, to wanting to skate coping boxes. But yeah, like why not? Just and like jump boxes and that sort of thing. There's just a lot of stuff with that we don't have access to because this country is always about 10 years behind the mainland when it comes to anything, whether it's architecture or whatever. So just may as well get it done. I don't really want to be waiting until I'm 41, you know. So yeah, fuck it. See how it goes, and I'll definitely keep you updated on it.
Yeah, all right. I'll leave you to it, mate. Okay. I'll speak soon. Okay.
All right, take care, man. Pleasure.
And you. See you later.